Travel back in time with Time Machine Tales: The Magalat Revolt, a story of defiance in Cagayan Valley. The idyllic Cagayan. Buckle up, time travelers. Today on Time Machine Tales, we're hurtling back to the Philippines of 1596. Nestled amidst the verdant embrace of the Sierra Madre Mountains lies the Cagayan Valley, a tapestry of fertile fields and vibrant life. Here, the Cagayan River snakes its way through lush greenery, nourishing communities that thrived on the bounty of the land. However, a storm of discontent was brewing beneath the surface of this seemingly peaceful haven, the burden of tribute. By the late 16th century, the Spanish had established a firm foothold in the Philippines. Their rule, however, came at a cost. The tribute system, a cornerstone of Spanish control, demanded a hefty portion of a community's harvest or production. Imagine the frustration of the Cagayanons. The fruits of their labor, the very foundation of their livelihood, were being siphoned away to fill Spanish coffers. This oppressive system bred a simmering resentment that threatened to erupt. A voice for change. But not everyone accepted this harsh reality. Among the Cagayan chieftains, a voice of defiance emerged: Magalat. Unlike many who acquiesced to Spanish rule, Magalat refused to be a silent bystander. He became a beacon of hope, a thorn in the side of the Spanish authorities. His fiery speeches, brimming with passion and righteousness, resonated with the Cagayanons. The spirit of rebellion, long dormant, began to stir within their hearts. The uprising begins. In 1596, the simmering pot of discontent in Cagayan finally boiled over. The Cagayan Valley erupted in rebellion, led by the charismatic Magalat and his brother. The long-suppressed frustrations of the people exploded into a full-blown uprising. Imagine the thundering battle cries echoing through the lush valleys, the glint of metal under the tropical sun. The Cagayanons, armed with traditional weapons and fueled by a burning desire for freedom, rose up against the Spanish forces. The rebellion spread like wildfire, engulfing the countryside. Spanish authority crumbled as the natives fought for their land and their future. A controversial approach. However, the story of the Magalat Revolt is not a simple tale of good versus evil. Historical accounts suggest that Magalat's methods were not always above reproach. In his zeal to achieve freedom, he may have resorted to violence against his own people who refused to join the fight. His brutality casts a shadow on the rebellion. While the fight for freedom is noble, the methods used to achieve it can be a source of debate. Was Magalat a ruthless revolutionary, or a desperate leader willing to do whatever it took to break free from Spanish rule? The answer, perhaps, lies somewhere in between. But the Spanish response. The Spanish colonial government in Manila, alarmed by the growing rebellion, reacted swiftly. Governor-General Francisco de Tello de Guzman knew he couldn't afford to let the uprising fester. He dispatched Pedro de Chavez, a seasoned military leader, to quell the rebellion with all necessary force. Imagine the desperation of the Spanish authorities. The loss of control in Cagayan threatened to destabilize their entire rule in the Philippines. With a combined force of Spanish soldiers and Filipino troops loyal to the crown, Chavez marched towards Cagayan, determined to crush the rebellion and restore Spanish dominance. The tide of battle. The ensuing battles were fierce and bloody. Magalat, a skilled leader, rallied his people to resist the Spanish onslaught. Imagine the clash of steel on steel, the desperate cries of warriors on both sides. Though armed with traditional weapons, the Cagayanons fought with a ferocious determination. But the Spanish forces, better equipped and trained, gradually gained the upper hand. Several of Magalat's lieutenants were captured and executed, weakening the rebel movement. The seeds of betrayal. Facing mounting pressure and dwindling support, Magalat retreated to his fortified headquarters, a place he believed could hold out against the Spanish siege. However, the Spanish employed a more insidious weapon: treachery. Aware of the growing dissent within Magalat's ranks, they offered a reward for his capture. This tempting offer planted the seeds of betrayal within the rebel camp. The dream of freedom, once so vibrant, began to flicker and fade. A deceptive end. Under the cloak of darkness, a group of Magalat's own men, tempted by the Spanish reward, infiltrated his stronghold. In a shocking act of betrayal, they assassinated Magalat within his own fortified refuge. The flames of rebellion, so fiercely ignited by Magalat, were extinguished not in a glorious battle, but in a moment of cold-blooded treachery. The dream of freedom for the Cagayanons died with their leader. The aftermath. With Magalat gone, the rebellion sputtered and died. The Spanish reasserted control over Cagayan, imposing harsher penalties to discourage future uprisings. The fertile fields, once a source of life and sustenance, now bore the scars of conflict. The Magalat Revolt, though short-lived, left an indelible mark on Philippine history. It demonstrated the simmering discontent against Spanish rule and the unwavering spirit of resistance that pulsed throughout the archipelago. Legacy of the Magalat Revolt. The Magalat Revolt, a deeper look into a complex struggle for freedom. The Magalat Revolt of 1596 stands as a poignant episode in the annals of Philippine history, illustrating the complexities of colonial resistance and the multifaceted nature of rebellion. This uprising, led by the enigmatic figure Magalat, encapsulates the broader themes of colonial oppression, indigenous agency, and the tragic consequences of internal division. A closer examination of this revolt not only sheds light on the motivations and strategies of the Filipino resistance, but also reveals the intricate dynamics that ultimately led to its downfall. Magalat's initial arrest and subsequent release by the Spanish authorities, influenced by Dominican priests, marked the beginning of a rebellion rooted in the relentless pursuit of autonomy. His return to Cagayan and the subsequent mobilization of the local population highlight the widespread discontent with Spanish rule, particularly the burdensome tribute system. This aspect of the revolt underscores the economic and social grievances that fueled the resistance, making Magalat not merely a rebel leader but a symbol of indigenous defiance against colonial exploitation. The revolt's progression, characterized by Magalat's control over the countryside and the violent retribution against those who refused to join, paints a vivid picture of the desperation and determination that drove the insurgents. This phase of the rebellion illustrates the stark choices faced by the local population: join the revolt and risk the wrath of the Spanish, or refuse and face the brutal consequences from their compatriots. Such a scenario underscores the profound impact of colonial rule on indigenous societies, fracturing communal bonds and forcing individuals into perilous positions. Governor General Francisco de Tello de Guzman's response to the uprising, particularly the deployment of Pedro de Chaves with a combined force of Spanish and Filipino colonial troops, highlights the calculated and forceful measures employed by the colonial government to suppress resistance. The subsequent capture and execution of several rebel leaders signify the relentless suppression tactics that were typical of Spanish colonial strategy. This response not only aimed to dismantle the immediate threat but also to send a clear message about the futility of resistance. The assassination of Magalat by his own men, allegedly incentivized by Spanish rewards, adds a layer of tragic irony to the revolt. This internal betrayal within the ranks of the rebellion serves as a stark reminder of the fragility and susceptibility to division that can undermine even the most fervent movements for freedom. It also reflects the pervasive influence of colonial powers, capable of exploiting internal fractures to maintain control. The Magalat Revolt, a story of defiance and betrayal, serves as a reminder of the human cost of oppression. The heavy-handed tribute system and the violence that ensued left deep scars on the communities involved. However, Magalat's legacy is also one of courage and resilience. He dared to challenge the status quo, inspiring future generations to fight for their freedom. Though his methods were controversial, his defiance ignited a spark that continued to burn throughout the long struggle for Philippine independence. Our journey through time ends here, but the story of the Philippines continues. The spirit of resistance, exemplified by the Magalat Revolt, would echo throughout the centuries, paving the way for a future of freedom. So join us again on Time Machine Tales as we delve into another chapter of history, another story waiting to be explored.